Heartwarming discovery. How a bank manager exposed my daughter's incredible attempt to sign away the future. Michelle wiped the sweat from her brow, her hands trembling slightly as she juggled coffee cups and breakfast plates in the bustling diner. Despite the heavy workload, her heart sang when she glanced at the corner booth where Ellie sat, her wild curls bouncing as she chatted with her friends. The storm clouds outside loomed ominously, much like the financial struggles that pressed down on Michelle every day. Yet, here she was pouring her heart into every shift, reminding herself that her hard work was for Ellie's dreams a bright future far from the diner. Unbeknownst to Michelle, Ellie had been quietly saving her meager allowance in hopes of a bike that could take her on new adventures. But as a storm raged through the community, uprooting homes and lives, Ellie felt the weight of her surroundings. She saw the slick news segments and anxious parents, and above all, she felt the same suffocating dread as her mother. One fateful evening, Ellie made a choice fueled by love. She would donate all her savings to the school fundraiser for storm relief. A small cup of coins could spark endless hope, she believed. Days slid by, and the storm's aftermath left a mark on the town. Tree branches littered streets like forgotten dreams. Word of Ellie's heartfelt donation reached David, the local bank manager, as he completed his errands. He watched as a lone girl walked into his bank, head held high and excitement glowing in her eyes. His heart swelled when he learned of Ellie's selfless act. He began sharing the story over coffee with his regulars, stirring up a wave of admiration and fervor. People began talking how a child with so little could give so much. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But with this growing admiration came a surge of emotional turmoil for Michelle. Panic clawed at her heart. What if Ellie's generosity put them at greater risk? How could she even entertain the thought of her child giving away their limited resources? That night, in the dim light of their small apartment, they faced the storm raging both outside and within. Michelle wanted to embrace Ellie, to celebrate her bravery, but her heart sank. Had she truly failed as a mother? Ellie sat across from her, eyes gleaming with purpose, joy flickering in the tides of uncertainty. As the community meeting approached, townsfolk assembled, brokenness giving way to hope. Heated discussions erupted, voices blending into a choir of passionate debate about sacrifice and support. The air crackled with unresolved questions. Could selflessness triumph in tough times? As Michelle and Ellie took their seats in the back, they could feel the community's weight upon them. Fingers trembling, Michelle squeezed Ellie's hand. "What have we done, honey?" she whispered, overwhelmed by pride and fear. Ellie smiled back, steadfast in her belief that kindness was wealth. Could they truly balance sacrifice with self-care? Would their love withstand the tides of community struggle? The moment hung in the air, heavy with unanswered questions, hinting at a storm of revelations yet to come. Would love conquer their hardship, or would it deepen the cracks in their world? With anxious hearts, they waited for what was to unfold. The future. The community center buzzed with energy, an electric mix of apprehension and determination. The soft lights flickered against the faded walls, illuminating the faces of mothers and fathers, old friends and strangers brought together by tragedy. Children played in the corners, their laughter a stark contrast to the serious conversation surrounding them. But in that sea of voices, everything felt muted to Michelle. She could only hear her own heartbeat, thumping nervously in her chest, as Ellie squeezed her hand, still radiating confidence. David, the bank manager, stood before the crowd, his presence commanding attention. As he began to speak, Michelle took a moment to observe Ellie, her daughter's unwavering spirit reflected in those bright eyes. It reminded her of summer days spent in the park, laughing as they rode bikes. That dream felt so distant now, eclipsed by the reality of what had happened and was still unfolding. "Thank you for coming today," David started, his voice resonating with compassion. "We are here to discuss how we can rebuild, how we can come together as a community." Michelle leaned forward, desperate to grasp the words that could shape their future. Yet all she could think about was Ellie and the sacrifice she had made. What if others scrutinized her decision? What would they think about the little girl who had given away her all? As David continued to outline plans for the Storm Relief Fund, more stories emerged from the crowd of neighbors helping each other, of strangers opening their doors. Michelle's heart tightened as she absorbed the weight of those tales of hurt and resilience interwoven through the fabric of their community. It became clear. Their lives were truly intertwined, and they would need to lift each other up through the adversity. Then a voice broke through her thoughts, a spirited woman named Clara who had just stepped into the spotlight. "It's not just about rebuilding homes," she implored. "It's about hope. We're here to support each other, to teach our children that love and generosity win. Just like that amazing girl Ellie." Ellie shifted in her seat, caught off guard by the sudden attention. Faces turned toward her, whispers circulating through the room. Michelle felt a mix of pride and anxiety wash over her. Here was her daughter being celebrated for a deed she had almost doubted, the love she had been so unsure of in that dim light less than a week ago. With trembling fingers, Michelle wiped a stray tear that threatened to fall. If only she could show Ellie how that generosity was both a gift and a risk, how kindness could lift them and shatter burdens simultaneously. As Clara's voice continued to rise, more stories followed. Each moment sewn together brought warmth, rejuvenating their spirits. It was impossible to ignore the shift happening around them. People began pledging money, time, and skills. "Together we'll create a community fund focused not just on repairing houses, but on supporting dreams," David declared. "We can ensure that children like Ellie, who understand the true value of generosity, have brighter futures." Michelle turned to Ellie, searching for clarity in her daughter's expression. "You hear that?" Michelle whispered, her heart soaring. "You are a beacon of hope." Ellie's face beamed back at her, innocence shining through. "I just want to help, Mom. I want everyone to have hope again." Just then a sudden shout came from the back. "What if we all donate one thing, like an auction? We can sell items for cash too." The suggestion sparked energy throughout the room. Excitement bubbled and people began to organize and group off, chattering enthusiastically about what they could contribute to the auction. Amidst this, a distant thought hit Michelle. Could they really manage this venture? Where would they find the strength? As she stood by Ellie, asking herself if they should join, everything felt brighter, but the unwelcome weight of uncertainty still loomed. With another squeeze of Ellie's hand, Michelle exhaled deeply. Could they navigate this new reality together? She glanced at the faces around her filled with hope and determination and felt a flicker of belief. What if this gamble could pay off? As discussions intensified around them, the storm clouds outside shifted slightly, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, a sunset promising a new day. It dawned on Michelle that what they had started could lead to greater things. But would their journey lead to lasting change? "Mom, let us be part of it," Ellie urged, her voice steady. Michelle locked eyes with her daughter, both of them standing on the brink of something profound. "Okay, sweetheart. Let us make this happen." With courage swelling inside her, Michelle prepared for the leap into the unknown. But would they find balance in this newfound spirit of generosity? Or would the shadows of their struggles resurface? As they joined the gathering momentum, uncertainty lurked just beyond, ready to test every bond that had been formed. The gymnasium transformed into a whirlwind of activity, a hive of creativity as the auction ideas flourished. Everyone had something to offer, a piece of themselves they were willing to share. Tables lined with donated items began to take shape, from homemade jams to handmade clothes, each item carrying a story of its own, woven together by the fabric of their shared experiences. Michelle watched as Ellie flitted from group to group, her spirit infectious. Ellie was in her element, asking questions, encouraging contributions. It filled Michelle with a warmth she hadn't felt in days. Her daughter was becoming a leader in her own way, capturing the essence of what the community needed. But with each moment of joy came a reminder that uncertainty still loomed. Would their efforts be enough? Could they raise the funds needed to truly make a difference? As Michelle observed Ellie's excitement, a knot tightened in her stomach. The old doubts crept back in, whispering that this togetherness could dissolve as quickly as it formed. "Hey, Michelle." Clara's voice broke into her thoughts as she approached, a binder clutched tightly in her hands. "We need someone to help coordinate the auction items. Would you be up for it?" The idea sent a rush of panic through Michelle. "I'm not sure I can." The words felt heavy on her tongue. What if she failed? What if the community counted on her and she let them down? Just think about it. Clara smiled undeterred. You're a natural with people. This is the kind of thing you're perfect for. With Clara's warmth bolstering her spirit, Michelle couldn't resist the possibility. "Okay, I'll give it a try." A flicker of determination ignited within her. A choice that didn't feel as daunting. As the sun dipped lower in the skies, bathing everything in a soft golden hue, Michelle found herself swept into a whirlwind of planning. The first task was to decide on an opening announcement for the auction. But among the chaos, she discovered something unexpected stirring within. Each effort, each item catalogued felt like a step toward healing, not just for the community but for herself too. With Ellie by her side, they sorted through various items. The energy in the gymnasium felt electric. Laughter, shared memories, and hope echoed throughout the space. Michelle noticed Ellie gravitating towards a small box, decorated with childlike drawings. It captured her heart. It was an art project created by a local teacher, depicting everything their town had endured and the dreams for the future. "Mom, this one!" Ellie exclaimed, holding it up high. "It represents all of us." Michelle nodded slowly, feeling the truth. It wasn't just a box of art. It was a representation of resilience, a token of the spirit that had brought them all together in this time of need. "Let us make sure this gets a special spot." As more people began to join in, they shared ideas that elevated the excitement. Music, food, and small performances were suggested to create a festival atmosphere, making the auction not just a fundraising effort, but a celebration of community spirit. But then the moment of tension drew near. David approached, carrying an envelope. "Hey Michelle, I wanted to talk to you. There's something important we need to decide about the funds and Ellie's involvement." Michelle's heart dropped. Had she let Ellie dive in too deep? Was this about to expose her daughter to more than she could handle? Questions swirled as David continued. "People are looking to you, and Ellie, your story has moved them in ways you might not realize." Feeling a weight of scrutiny, Michelle looked into David's eyes. She wanted so much to shield Ellie from any potential backlash for becoming a symbol in all of this, a motivator for what they could achieve. But there was something about the pride in David's voice that inspired her. "What are you suggesting?" she asked, her pulse quickening. David responded, "I believe Ellie's willingness to step up could be the heart of this auction. But we want to make sure she is comfortable with it." Michelle turned to Ellie, who was bouncing on her toes, excitement radiating from her. Would this open up more for her little girl? Or would it become a burden? With a sense of urgency stirring within, Michelle knew this was a pivotal moment for them. "Ellie, how do you feel about this?" she asked, gauging her daughter's enthusiasm. "I want everyone to feel what I felt when I helped," Ellie answered, her conviction unwavering. "I want to show that we can do this together." Michelle felt herself tear up, pride blending with a sense of dread. The ride ahead was bound to be rough. The auction's energy could be a turning point. But would it truly embrace the community's spirit? Would this newfound unity hold strong against the tides of doubt? As Michelle nodded, contemplating the implications of their next steps, the murmur of spirited discussions intensified around them. They stood on the edge of something significant, a final question hanging in the air: could they truly unite to heal their town? Or would the weight of expectations fracture the bonds they built? The gymnasium buzzed with anticipation as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the faces of everyone involved. Excitement filled the air like the sweet scent of cinnamon from a freshly baked pie. Michelle took a deep breath, glancing at Ellie, whose eyes sparkled with hope. It was palpable, this feeling that maybe, just maybe, they could pull together to create something magnificent. "Okay, everyone," Clara called, gathering attention. "We're going to kick this off with the opening announcement. Michelle and Ellie have a special message they want to share." A chorus of eager whispers washed over the crowd. Michelle's heart raced. Could she really stand up in front of everyone? With Ellie's encouraging nod, she pushed her fears aside and stepped forward, feeling the warmth of Ellie's small hand in hers. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Michelle began, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves. "This auction isn't just about the items we've put together. It's about us, our community. Each piece here represents a story, a moment of resilience, and our determination to help one another." The crowd seemed to lean in closer, caught up in her words. Michelle glanced at Ellie, who radiated encouragement, and continued together, we can turn these stories into something powerful. We can support those who need it most, and foster hope where it matters. Now let us celebrate what we've built and dream of what's to come. The room erupted in applause, and for a moment Michelle felt weightless. The tension ebbed away, replaced with a sense of unity. Ellie's beaming smile reassured her. They were truly on a journey of healing and hope. However, just as momentum built, a heavy silence settled over the crowd when a familiar voice rose from the back. "Excuse me, can we talk about how the funds are distributed?" It was Mr. Thompson, the longtime banker, with furrowed brows, eyes focused on Ellie. "Mr. Thompson," Michelle quickly interjected, her heart pounding. "We're thrilled to have your insights, but let us focus on the celebration tonight first if we can." "It's not just about celebration, Michelle," he pressed, eyebrows raised. "We need to ensure transparency, especially if Ellie's going to take a bigger role." The words hung in the air like a thundercloud. Ellie shifted uncomfortably, and Michelle felt a protective instinct flare within her. Ellie is excited to help, but we need to prioritize her comfort. This isn't about putting pressure on her. The murmurs in the crowd became a mixture of support and dissent. A few voices chimed in, rallying behind Michelle while others expressed doubt. She could feel the growing divide, that old knot of uncertainty tightening once more. "Let us remember, each of us is committed to contributing and learning how to support one another. Not just tonight, but for the time ahead," Michelle said, searching for common ground. Ellie's involvement is about inspiration, not obligation. Looking down at her daughter, she saw Ellie's determination returning. It was like watching a spark ignite in a dark room. "I want to help," Ellie declared, her voice strong. "My friends and I will tell our stories. We can make this a night of hope and healing." Michelle's heart swelled. In that moment, Ellie was not just her little girl. She was a beacon of resilience. The tide of doubt shifted, the energy in the room pulsing with renewed strength. As the night rolled on, laughter intermingled with the clinking of glasses, and Michelle felt the burdens of anxiety gradually lift. The community began to engage more, sharing not only their items but their own powerful stories of struggle and triumph. It was an outpouring of love, a mosaic of humanity bound together by shared experiences. Yet, in the back of her mind, doubt still nudged at her. With every moment of joy, there remained the lingering worry of expectations, of whether they could hold this momentum. As the first auction item was revealed, a beautiful quilt stitched from fabric squares contributed by many hands, Michelle saw Ellie running back to her side, eyes wide with exhilaration. "Mom, this is incredible. Look how much love went into this," Ellie exclaimed, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Yes, sweetheart," Michelle responded, the warmth of pride blooming within her. It was a true testament of their community's spirit. But just as she settled into the happiness of the moment, Michelle spotted Mr. Thompson again, this time exchanging looks with other skeptical faces in the gathering. A tightness returned to her chest as she wondered, was this just the first step toward a long road of scrutiny? As the auction began to unfold, the question loomed larger. Could this unity withstand the doubts and challenges ahead? Or was it merely a fragile illusion waiting to be shattered by reality? "Wait, is that really the starting bid?" Clara's voice cut through the murmur as she raised the gavel, eyes squinting at the crowd. The auction kicked off with the quilt, and anticipation hung in the air. Excited whispers peppered the room, but Michelle could feel the pressure of Mr. Thompson's piercing gaze lingering. "Yes," a voice shouted from the back. It was Donna, an older lady known for her fierce loyalty to the community. $50. $60. Another voice chimed in quickly. Michelle glanced at Ellie, whose face was alight with pride. The quilt was more than just fabric. It was a tapestry of their stories. From heartbreak to hope, the stitches told it all. Yet, even with the spirited bidding, that tension from before hung in the background. As the numbers climbed, Michelle's thoughts drifted. What if all this joy was just a mask? What if Mr. Thompson was right? She wanted this event to be successful more than anything, but her mind bounced from one worry to another. Ellie deserved transparency, but how much pressure was too much? 75. Clara announced, her bright smile reflecting in Ellie's eyes. 80. Came the rapid response. Michelle had to bite her lip to hide a smile. The energy was electric, each bid raising not just money but spirits. Yet, when she looked at Mr. Thompson again, she saw him deep in conversation with a few members of the board, their faces lined with concern. Did they doubt Ellie too? The auction rolled on. With each succeeding item a hand-painted vase, a local artist's painting, more laughter erupted, the atmosphere lightening. Michelle basked in each cheerful outburst, each long-forgotten story retold, until finally Clara readied for the moment they'd all been waiting for. Next up, we have a special offering, a private dinner cooked by Chef Victor at his award-winning restaurant, Clara announced, and the crowd erupted in cheers. My husband will pay anything for that, a woman exclaimed, pointing her finger to the far side of the room. Laughter followed. Ellie squeezed Michelle's hand tighter, her excitement palpable. Mom, people are really coming together. Look at them. Yes, they are, baby, Michelle replied, her chest swelling with pride, pushing the doubts aside, if only for a little while. This was what they wanted, a sense of belonging, a feeling that no one was alone. But as the bids climbed yet again, and Clara excitedly declared 200, Michelle once more spotted Mr. Thompson's critical stare towards Ellie. His disapproval clawed at her, but before she could address it, a new voice rang through that caught her off guard. I'll bid 500, a man piped up from the back, raising a hand high. Gasps echoed throughout. It was Michael, a local tech entrepreneur, whose wealth was well known but whose kindness often went unnoticed. Let us make this worth every bit of the generosity we can extend. It brought a wave of surprised smiles and spontaneous cheering. Did he truly believe in their cause? 500. Going once. Going twice. Clara raised her gavel. Just then, Ellie stepped forward, her small frame standing tall despite the overwhelming excitement. Thank you for believing in us, Mr. Michael, she called out, her voice crisp and clear. I promise we'll do our best to make a difference. Michelle felt a rush, a mix of pride and worry. What if Michael's gesture was just an exception? What if it didn't set the tone for future support? As Clara confirmed the bidding victory, a booming applause erupted. The energy swelled, and for a moment, Michelle allowed herself to dream this could grow beyond one night. But the reality was crashing back in as Mr. Thompson approached, anger brewing behind his tightly pressed lips. Can we have a private discussion? He said quietly but firmly. Now, Michelle faltered, the joy of the moment slipping away. Yes, he replied, and the weight in his voice echoed with a finality that both scared and irritated her. Michelle took a deep breath, her gaze darting to Ellie, then back to Mr. Thompson. What was he going to say? Would this night's joy be crushed under his scrutiny? Okay, she relented, her heart sinking as she stepped away. As the sounds of celebration faded into the background, an unsettling question bubbled up. Could she protect Ellie from the challenges lurking just beneath the surface of their triumph? With thoughts swirling, she followed Mr. Thompson, the weight of uncertainty heavy in her chest. As Michelle walked alongside Mr. Thompson, the noise of the auction faded to an almost surreal quiet. She felt every heartbeat echoing in her ears, each one layered with doubt. What on earth was he going to say? Mr. Thompson stopped near a part of the hallway where colorful banners hung, celebrating the community spirit. He turned, crossing his arms, his brow furrowed. I need you to understand that we're in a critical position with funding. This event, despite its warmth, is merely a facade for the reality we're facing. Facade? Michelle's voice came out sharper than she intended. This is about Ellie and the community. Exactly, Mr. Thompson replied, his tone cutting like a knife. But a few happy faces and a handful of dollars won't solve our deeper issues. You know that, Michelle. I can't afford for our resources to be mismanaged based on fleeting emotions. His words struck at her core, grabbing her by the shoulders and shaking her resolve. Michelle swallowed hard, her throat tight and her heart racing. So what do you want me to do? Stop believing in this community? Stop believing in Ellie? Mr. Thompson softened slightly. No, that is not what I meant. But there are consequences. This isn't a game. If we fail to meet our budget this year, I can't guarantee that we'll be able to provide support next year. There might be cuts, permanent ones. The mention of cuts sent a wave of desperation through her. The laughter and hope from the auction felt like distant echoes now. You think I don't understand that? Do you think I want to let Ellie down? I'm just asking you to be realistic, he said, the edge in his voice dulling. Realistic? You mean stop caring? She couldn't hide the pain in her voice. You think this is just about money? It's about knowing we can always do more, helping each other. Being a part of something bigger. Mr. Thompson's gaze softened, if only marginally. I know you care. But it can't only be about caring. It has to be about sustainable growth. Just then, a commotion echoed around the corner. Clara's lively voice rang out, urging bids higher and higher. Michelle's heart ached as she sensed the community, their laughter, their support all rushing forward while she had fallen behind to an uncomfortable conversation that felt more like a dead end than a solution. I appreciate your loyalty to Ellie, Mr. Thompson continued, but I need you to help me focus on what's practical. I thought this was about our dreams, our hopes. Michelle's voice thinned as tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. She blinked them back, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. Dreams won't pay our debts, he replied, and there was no anger left in his voice, just cold pragmatism. She took a deep breath, pushing against the despair that lined the edges of her mind. I want to make this work for Ellie. I can't promise there won't be bumps along the way, but I believe in this community. He remained silent, the tension hanging thick between them. After what felt like an eternity caught between hope and fear, Michelle finally found her voice. If I'm doing this, I'm doing it fully. I want to show them that we can rise above the financial burdens and come together. Mr. Thompson nodded slowly, a hint of respect flickering in his eyes. Then do that. And be ready for the challenges ahead. She was still grappling with despair when the auctioneer's joyful sounds returned, drowning out their serious discussion. As she stepped back into the room filled with light and laughter, the joy washed over her like a healing balm. But there were no easy solutions, only unresolved questions flitting through her mind. Would they truly be able to make a lasting impact? As she searched for Ellie in the crowd, a deep feeling of determination stirred inside her. She wouldn't give up. But just as hope reignited, she saw Ellie standing wide-eyed among the guests, a note clutched tight in her hand. Mom! Ellie called out, her face alight, but there was worry behind her eyes. Look at this. Michelle's heart raced. What kind of news did Ellie hold? The colorful paper fluttered in her small hand, its significance brewing an ominous curiosity. What is it, Ellie? With the excited energy of the room swirling around them, Michelle felt the gravity of uncertainty pull tight. What revelation was about to unfold? Could this be the very key they needed, or something that would complicate their journey even further? Michelle stepped forward, ready to discover what lay hidden in her daughter's little hand. Ellie's fingers trembled as she unfolded the note, her eyes wide with anticipation. I found it hidden in the donation box. It's from someone who wants to help us. Michelle leaned closer, her heart pounding. The words on the paper began to blur in her vision, as the room spun with a dizzying mix of hope and anxiety. Who? She whispered, desperate for clarity. Ellie's voice was nearly a whisper. It doesn't say. It just mentions they want to remain anonymous. But look. She pointed to a scribbled number in the corner. This is how much they are willing to donate. Michelle's breath caught as she glanced at the figure. It was a staggering amount more than they had hoped for. Where did you even find this? Michelle asked, bewildered. I was helping Clara with the setup, Ellie explained, her face brightening. I thought it might be a good idea to check, just in case someone wrote a note to go with their donation. And then I found this. The mixture of joy and skepticism danced around in Michelle's chest. Could this really be the lifeline they needed? Could one generous soul really change the course of their hoped-for future? She unfolded the paper completely, studying every detail, every crease, as if the answer to all their dilemmas might be hidden there. Mom, this is amazing. Ellie beamed, her infectious enthusiasm filling the air. But a shadow of worry veiled Michelle's heart. Along with the excitement, uncertainty loomed. What if this was too good to be true? What if there were strings attached? Let us not get ahead of ourselves, Ellie, Michelle said, striving for a cautious tone. We need to verify this. We have to make sure it's real. Ellie's face fell slightly. But Mom, it means there's hope. We can use this for Ellie's program. Yes, Michelle agreed, allowing a smile to peek through, but we need to be smart about it. We can't let our hopes blind us. If this is legitimate, then we need to channel it in the right way. In that moment, Michelle realized they were standing on a precipice. The overwhelming emotions of fear, Hope and determination battled within her. The auction was the backdrop, but this small piece of paper held a promise, an opportunity to foster change. With every beat of her heart, she could almost hear the collective gasp of the community. Could this one note be the catalyst for sustaining Ellie's program? Did it mean they were finally on the right path? But what if this was a mirage? Just then, Clara spotted them and made her way through the throngs of guests, her eyes sparkling as she caught sight of Ellie. "What's going on, you two? You look like you've discovered gold." Believing this was the perfect moment to rally the team, Michelle's mind raced. "We might have a generous donation coming in," she announced, choosing each word carefully. "But we need to confirm it." Clara perked up with determination. "Then let us do it. We can set up a meeting, figure it all out." Ellie nodded quickly, her excitement flooding back. "And we can tell everyone at the community meeting next week. This could change everything." As voices swirled around them, Michelle felt a flickering of hope. Maybe this was the spark they needed to lead them toward their dreams. Yet, the worry that held her breathless remained, a silent companion whispering reminders. "Be careful, don't get hurt." But before she could delve deeper into those thoughts, Clara proclaimed, "All right, let us mobilize. We have work to do." They sprang into action, the urgency electrifying the air as the joyful laughter of the gathering community filled the room once more. As Ellie tugged at her sleeve and they began to move forward, Michelle couldn't shake the feeling that something was looming on the horizon. A choice awaited, and it wouldn't be as simple as just chasing after hope. What if this donation led them to uncover something they weren't ready for? With these thoughts brewing, a sudden flash of doubt crept in, and it washed over her unexpectedly. Would their dreams be within reach? Or would they unravel at the seams with the weight of hidden truths? What awaited them in pursuing this anonymous donor's intentions? The days rolled on, the anticipation building as the community meeting approached. Michelle found herself caught in a whirlwind of preparation, balancing calls and emails, all the while holding on to that note like a lifeline. Every time she glanced at it, her stomach twisted. Was it hope or a fantasy? Ellie was buzzing with excitement, frequently reminding Michelle about their promise to announce the potential donation. "Everyone's going to be so proud," Ellie chirped, her eyes sparkling with the visions of what that money could do. Michelle loved seeing her daughter so filled with hope, yet a part of her worried. On the day of the meeting, the community center buzzed even more than usual. Chairs were set up facing a makeshift stage, the air filled with chatter and laughter. It felt surreal, walking among the familiar faces who had known them for years. Still, Michelle's heart raced not from excitement but anxiety. "Are you ready, Mom?" Ellie asked, tugging on her sleeve, her voice barely rising above the sound of conversations. "Ready as I'll ever be," Michelle replied, forcing a smile. She glanced at Clara, who was adjusting the microphone on the stage. The plan was to gather everyone, update them on the progress, and if everything went well, reveal the possibility of that unexpected donation. As Clara called the meeting to order, Michelle felt a wave of nostalgia hit her. This place was more than a venue for meetings. It was a sanctuary, a home where friendships blossomed under the weight of shared struggles. They had all come together through their ups and downs, and now perhaps they had a chance for something greater. When it was time, Michelle stepped up to the podium, the note clutched tightly in her fingers. Everything in her wanted to shout the news out loud, to let the excitement spill over. But she had to temper that bubbling emotion. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady yet shaky. "This community has supported us in more ways than I can count. As you know, our efforts to keep the program alive have not been easy," she continued, recounting the challenges over the past few months, feeling the weight of their shared burdens. When she finally got to the potential donation, a hush fell over the room tinged with suspense. We have been given a hint of hope. An anonymous donor has expressed a desire to contribute significantly to our cause. A donation that can change everything for us." Gasps and whispers tingled through the crowd. Faces brightened, glimmers of hope reflected back at her. But deep down, Michelle wrestled with her inner voice. Who? Why? But she pushed those doubts away, willing herself to embrace the excitement surrounding her. Ellie's hand squeezed hers tightly, a shared moment of joy flooding her veins. But just as quick as it had come, a cloud cast over their triumph. A man from the back stood up, a shadow on his face. "This sounds too good to be true. How do we know it's real? A wave of tension rippled through the room. Michelle opened her mouth to respond, but the weight of uncertainty hung heavy. We need to verify this, yes. I understand your concern. We're all in this together, and I promise we will dig deeper. Just then Clara stepped in, her voice firm. We owe it to ourselves to follow this lead. We can research, find the source. The air shifted again. Murmurs of support emerged, but Michelle's heart raced with every passing second. She could feel the storm of skepticism mixed with excitement echoing around her. Let us work together, she decided to add with resolution. We will uncover the truth behind this donation, and we will keep moving forward. For Ellie and for everyone who believes in this program. A renewed spirit filled the room, voices rising, a chorus of determination. However, as the meeting continued, doubt lingered. It was then that she caught Ellie's gaze, full of pure trust, and Michelle suddenly wondered. Was she really prepared for whatever truths awaited? The meeting wound down to applause and cheers, but behind it, something unsettled lurked. The unknown was a weight they all carried, one that was beginning to throttle her resolve. As they left the community center, Ellie skipping ahead, Michelle couldn't shake an unsettling intuition. What if that anonymous donor was tied to something darker? What if their desperate drive for help pulled them deeper into a world of complications they weren't ready for? As she gingerly folded the note back into her pocket, her mind whirred with possibilities. There was still more to uncover. Was this donation a gift, or were they stepping into a trap disguised as hope? The sun dipped low as Michelle and Ellie walked home. The sky painted in hues of orange and purple. Ellie chattered away, her excitement bubbling over as she replayed the meeting in her mind. But Michelle struggled to focus, her thoughts clouded with unanswered questions. The chatter of the crowd echoed in her ears, mingled with that man's skepticism. His words had cast a shadow, feeding a growing unease that gnawed at her insides. Mom, what do you think it'll be like? Ellie asked, her eyes dancing with anticipation. Imagine what we could do with that money. We could finally get new supplies, maybe host some community events. Yeah, that would be amazing, Ellie, Michelle replied absently, forcing a smile. But her heart was heavy, filled with doubt. She had to protect Ellie from the uncertainties that hung over her. A promise dangled like a thread in the wind, and she couldn't afford to let it snap. Later that evening after dinner, Michelle sat on the couch, a cold cup of tea forgotten next to her. She pulled out the note, her fingers tracing its edges. The handwriting was neat, almost elegant, but the anonymity felt suffocating. She needed information, but how? A plan began to form in her mind, a phone call, some digging, maybe even a visit. Ellie bounded into the living room, a bright light in her eyes. Can we start planning what to do with the money? Maybe we could even have a picnic day for everyone out by the fountain. Michelle glanced up, caught in Ellie's whirlwind of dreams. Sure, baby, those are great ideas. But first let us figure out where this money is really coming from, okay? The next day, armed with determination, Michelle set out towards the local bank. It was a small, unassuming place, brick and mortar with the scent of polished wood. The rhythmic ticking of the wall clock seemed like a challenge. Time was of the essence inside. She approached the teller, a young woman with bright red lipstick who looked up with a vacant smile. Can I help you? Yes, I'd like to inquire about a potential donation we might receive. It's anonymous. The words stumbled out of her mouth, belied by the uncertainty brewing within. A lot of donations come through here. You'd have to provide more details, she trailed off, her gaze drifting elsewhere. Michelle took a breath, steeling her nerves. I can't provide details, only that it may be significant, and we want to ensure it's real. The teller blinked slowly, her expression shifting from vacant to slightly interested. Let me get the manager for you. Within minutes, Michelle found herself in a small office, sitting across from a middle-aged man in a crisp suit. The air in the room felt electric, as if they were dancing on the edge of something crucial. How may I assist you today? He asked, his demeanor calm but guarded. I'm here about a potential donation to our community program. An anonymous man is supposed to contribute. Michelle hesitated, unsure of how to phrase her next line. She needed answers without turning suspicious. The manager leaned back, tenting his fingers. Anonymous donations can be tricky. We indeed have a few that pass through here weekly, but they usually require verification. Verification? What does that involve? Michelle asked, feeling her pulse quicken. It was now or never. He looked thoughtfully at her. Depends on the source. If you have a name or a contact, that would be preferable. Her heart sank. The very thing she had set out to discover seemed just beyond her grasp. I understand. But what if it's truly anonymous? Is there no way to trace it? He paused, as if considering her sincerity. I can help fetch details on previous donations. At least that might spark something for you. But without a name it's difficult. As Michelle nodded, she felt the weight of her quest settle on her shoulders. This wasn't just about waiting. They had to act. Thank you, she said, gathering her thoughts. I'll take whatever I can get. As she left the bank, a quiet resolve filled her pace. Maybe they would find the truth about the donation. But what if digging deeper revealed not only hope, but danger lurking beneath? As the sun sank below the horizon, casting long shadows, Michelle clenched her fists. The search had just begun, but with every step, she felt the real cost of that hope brewing on the horizon, which was rising as fast as it was setting. What would they discover if they weren't ready for the truth? The community meeting had transformed into a carnival, the gymnasium alive with laughter and hope. Banners of vibrant colors decorated the walls, reflecting the spirit of unity. Tables brimmed with donations, each item a symbol of kindness and faith. Ellie stood proudly by a handmade craft, her infectious smile illuminating the room. She had become the heartbeat of this effort, and Michelle couldn't help but swell with pride. Look, Mom. They love it, Ellie squealed, pointing at the growing crowd surrounding their corner of the auction. Each bit seemed to breathe life into their dreams. Yes, sweetheart. It's beautiful, Michelle exclaimed, her heart fluttering between joy and the lingering uncertainty of the anonymous donation. As the night unfolded, Clara gathered everyone around for a moment of surprise. We got word from the anonymous donor. They are here tonight. The crowd erupted in gasps and cheers. Michelle felt the tension in her chest loosen slightly. Could this be a real blessing after all? Who are they? Someone called out amidst the excitement. Clara held up her hand, smiling. They wished to remain anonymous, but they sent a video message with their intent and a surprise donation amount. Let us watch. As the screen flickered to life, a pre-recorded video played out. The camera zoomed in on a familiar face, David, the bank manager. He spoke with a gentle smile, the sincerity in his eyes radiating warmth. I may be the one to convey this message, but I represent a group who believes in you all. We've seen how you've come together and we want to help. When the announcement of the staggering donation amount bombarded the room, Michelle almost fell to her knees. The crowd erupted in applause, tears of joy spilling over cheeks everywhere. Ellie spun around, her eyes wide with disbelief and happiness. Did you hear that, Mom? We can finally do everything, she exclaimed. But even amid the excitement, Michelle felt a nagging doubt creep in. Was this too good to be true? Think about everything we can accomplish together, Ellie continued, undeterred by her mother's silence. Yes, baby. It's wonderful. Just we need to be smart, okay? We need to figure out how to use it wisely. Their embrace felt like they were wrapped in a cocoon of possibility, as Clara announced prizes for the auction winners. Joyous laughter enveloped them, but doubt still lingered at the back of Michelle's mind. Unbeknownst to the residents, the tension swirling around the mystery of these funds hadn't entirely dissolved. As the night wore on, community members came together, sharing their hopes and dreams while focusing on putting the generosity to good use. Michelle engaged in discussions, ideas sparking like fireworks. We could have more art classes, a community garden, enhancement for the library. Each suggestion ignited Ellie's excitement further, filling their surroundings with warmth. Just when it felt like they had turned a corner, however, Michelle spotted a familiar figure lurking near the entrance, Mr. Thompson. His sharp gaze searched the room, and as his eyes landed on her, she felt a wave of unease wash over her. Pushing it aside, she forged ahead, engaging in a discussion about the next steps. But as the celebration continued, she watched Mr. Thompson approach Clara. Can we talk? He said in a hushed tone. With a nod, Michelle followed Clara as they made their way over. What's wrong? Clara asked, concern darkening her features. Mr. Thompson glanced around before speaking. You know, generosity like this might come with strings attached. We have to tread carefully. What do you mean? Michelle's pulse raced. This anonymous donor may have ulterior motives, and we must ensure their intentions align with ours. If things go south, we could be left holding a hefty bag full of obligations we didn't foresee. Trepidation coiled in Michelle's stomach. We can't let that overshadow the goodwill we've built tonight, Thompson. This is about our community flourishing, not falling apart. I understand that, but you must be cautious. Promises are sweet, but they can sour quite bitterly. Clara inhaled sharply. But tonight is about celebrating what we can achieve together. We'll keep our hearts cautious but open, okay? Reluctantly nodding, Michelle felt the strain of truth igniting new worries. Could the brightness they'd found be dashed by shadows of uncertainty? As the night concluded, and the community basked in the days of hope ahead, Michelle stood by Ellie in silence. Do you think they really want to help? Ellie's innocent question hung in the air, like a prayer. I want to believe that they do, honey. As they stepped outside, the cool night air swept over them, stars twinkling overhead. In that moment, mother and daughter held hands, the silent bond of determination stronger than doubt. Together they would navigate whatever challenges lay ahead, united by love, hope, and the promise of a future that held infinite possibilities. So long as they approached it with eyes wide open, they could face the unknown together. As the sunrise dipped on the horizon, casting brilliant hues across the sky, they walked home with hearts full, neither blind to uncertainties nor ungrateful for the kindness bestowed upon them. Now was the time to embrace this journey, to unite their voices with the community's heartbeat, because they were stronger together. So what now? This was just the start. Don't wait another second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and uplift you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below with your feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Real fans understand the importance of standing together. So let us rally around this incredible movement for hope and love.